I want you to recall the vote in Kansas, the vote where all the polls looked like they were close. In fact, many of them even had that allowing the Kansas to change the abortion law at will was going to win. Not only were the polls wrong, the polls were dramatically wrong by orders of magnitude in deltas, okay? And a lot of people look at this as it's strange why that is occurring. Well, I want to play you this, and then I want to give you some more context afterwards. Check this out.
Although Democrats still face an uphill battle in November, the last few weeks have brought them some wins, along with some structural changes in the parties and the fact that Trump is not on the ballot in the midterms. Expectations of a Republican wave could be premature. One of the biggest changes in the parties over the last few decades is in education. In 1996, 27% of Republicans had at least a bachelor's degree, higher than the Democrats' 22%. But the growth in the Democrats' numbers since then has been more consistent and larger, while the GOP's share of highly educated voters rose slightly and then dropped back to 29% in 2019, 12 points lower than the Democrats that year. And these numbers matter because not everyone votes at the same rate. In the 2016 presidential election, the more educated the voter, the more likely they were to vote, with 47.4% of high school educated people casting a ballot versus 71% of those with a bachelor's degree or higher. So when a party's percentage of college grads falls, that may make it harder to get the desired voter turnout. But also important here is the drop-off in the midterms. Although it's expected, the margins matter. And after starting with the lowest number to begin with, turnout among voters with a high school education also dropped the most, a decrease of 8.6% from the presidential vote to the 2018 midterms. In other words, as the parties change, the GOP is trading people who vote more frequently for people who vote less frequently, while the Democrats are doing the opposite. And that trade-off may be magnified in midterms.
And, I don't understand why a lot of people haven't already seen a lot of this. Kansas was a perfect example of the vote. I spoke earlier about the calculations that they do to make polls, right? The model that they use, what percentage of each type of voter is going to be there? What is the definition of a likely voter? And I've been saying for quite some time, the definition of a likely voter is likely wrong. And why is it likely wrong? Because of the people that I meet every single day. They don't show up in the likely voter model, but they sure as hell going to vote. And we saw that in Kansas. And we're going to see that over and over and over again. So while the generic poll, guess what? Democrats have gone pretty much ahead in the generic polls, which means, generally speaking, because of gerrymandering, etc., they need to carry anywhere between a 4 to 8 point in a generic poll to ensure a win. I don't think those days are still valid or those things are still true. I think based on a new likely voter model, we're going to see that the generic poll may be a little bit more or a little bit too biased towards the GOP. And what we're going to see is a lot of wins in places that we thought we would not have seen wins. If you doubt it, take a look at Georgia, Pennsylvania, Wisconsin, Ohio, and likely Arizona. Mark my word. We spend a lot of time deconstructing the news, trying to parse it into a form that everybody can understand. We try to find those little nitpicks where it flies above the fray, etc. If you really like these videos that we do, I want to ask a big favor. Please go ahead. Number one, subscribe to our channel. And number two, please join if you can. Thank you so kindly for watching. Keep watching. Please remember to share. We must populate the entire internet with our progressive message, a message that we know is what most Americans say that they want. So help us, please join.